G'day folks, and welcome back to the channel for part 5 of my Zero to Hero journey with my Elementalist Primal Strike character. Now, I have been and I have done so many totems and treasure troves, but I finally got the set together, and I've got the gloves and I've got the boots. I've had these for quite a while. I actually got the Ultos' Stormseeker, the weapon, dropped first for me. But, I mean, look at our damage and then look what happens when I put it on. It's not great. Even if I hold down control to take off the component and the augment on the rune carved storm halberd, it's still significantly less. And that was pretty much the same with all of the Ultos stuff in general. So I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of hoping that the full 5-set piece bonus is enough to offset this. But at the moment, none of these pieces individually are worth using over, well, the Dawn Shard stuff that I got while I was leveling. So anyway, I've got everything together that I need to swap over to the final build. I've got a tonic of reshaping and clarity to delete my devotion and my attribute points. But before I do that, I do have a couple of duplicates. Now, I don't have the helmet here, so I have the weapon, I have the chest, I have the shoulders, and I have 3 of Ultos' gem. Now, actually, I miscounted and farmed for a little bit longer than I technically needed to. Which was kind of embarrassing when I went back to my stash and discovered I had an extra one, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. This one is the best of the 3 in terms of stats, and so these 2 are going to be transmute fodder to get me the helmet. So before I go making any changes, don't drink your potions, don't change components, nothing. If this fails, okay, now it's probably not going to because, hang on, there we go. Because I have... What do I have? 24 shots at this. Actually, I've only got 4 shots. I may need to go and get some more crystals. Actually, let me go make those crystals. I'll be right back. Okay, that should be enough. I picked up an extra 35 or so. So, what I'm going to do before anything else, I need to make sure that I have all of the equipment available. If I go drinking potions and resetting stats and devotions and all my skill points and stuff, and then I run through my 24, well, let's say 14... but I run through all of my Eldritch Essence, and I still don't have a helmet. This character is kind of bricked until I fix it. So I will waste a whole bunch of resources if I do that. Now, I just need any helmet to get this started. But, like I said, I've got, I think, 14, if my maths is mathsing. It's not, it's 15. So I've got 15 shots at this. I should only need 4 on average. So, at least in theory, this should be easily doable. So let's see how good my luck is for today. Here we go. Bam. Okay, I've got a weapon. Now, I already have a weapon. Which one is better? Well, this one. And by a lot, actually. So I'm going to chuck that one back in. Always, when you're doing this, do one at a time, and then check. That's why... so, for example, the boots and the gloves here, these have got components on it. I mean, granted, I'm using those, so obviously, but the pants here, I put the component on these already. I didn't put the blooded crystals on the rings because I want to talk about those, but don't put components on these unless you are using them, because if you're going to do something like this, I mean, now I'm checking this one versus this one. Okay. Honestly, this one's kind of better, so I'm putting the first one I got back in there, and I'm going again. Alright, that is my first helmet, and at this point, I'm going to stop. Now, what I could do is I could chuck this other duplicate in here, transmute it again, and then check this one against, for example, well, not for example, literally against this one. Now, my original is much better, so I go again. Okay, I've got another amulet. Well, is this better than this one? Well, yes. So I'm going to, hang on, let me check the resistances. Yeah, that one's considerably better. Bam, there's another one. Okay, is this better? 16% attack speed, 11% physical? No, it's not better. So you can keep doing that until you run out of resources. I'm going to stop here and just show you the rest of this. Now, I've already changed over the gloves, the boots, and the belt. These are correct. Let me double check here. They are indeed correct components. The augments on them will be wrong, but we can replace those without having to do any kind of changes. this Kaiman's badge, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to be using Korvac's brand. So I have all of the items here ready to go. And one thing I wanted to mention, especially in light of the fact that I just had to go and farm more Aether Crystals, is just how many Aether Crystals go into this build. Now, completely ignoring any kind of Aether Souls or the Seal of Annihilation up here or anything that's already made when I started this, I have used, and I kept track of this, 140 Aether Crystals to make these components and also the Prismatic Diamond here. So just these and one Prismatic Diamond is 140 Aether Crystals. Then all the transmutes, more Aether Crystals. Any Aether Souls while leveling, any Ward Stones, any Wrath Stones, and so much stuff uses Aether Crystals. You really, really just need to have tons of them. It's never a bad time to go farm Aether Crystals because you will use them. Also, just by the by, this Prismatic Diamond is 12 Chthonic Seals of binding, and then the Ugdenbloom count for these is 56. So just these 4 components, I think. Just checking. 2 Bloodied Crystals. Oh, and the Seal of the Skies on the weapon is 56 Ugdenblooms. So that's another thing that you need tons of. And if I was using if I was going to use a conduit for this build, thankfully I'm not, but if I was, that's easily another 50 to 150 Ugdenblooms as well. So Aether Crystals, I know I say all the time that you can never have enough of them. This is why. Alright, so we are set. We are ready to go. Now, I'm going to make another Seal of the Skies. I want to keep that weapon just in case. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to use it again, but it's not going to cost me too much. Seal of Skies. There we go. I just get to push that button and we're good to go. Now, which one were we using? This one here. Okay, let's just go and get all of our gear organized. So, these shoulders, I don't use those anymore. Let me just check my components. Nope, don't need the components. That one's done. Go away. Okay, rings. Don't care. I'm not using those components. I'm not using those rings. Go away. This Thread of Mortality, I am going to need the Seal of Annihilation off of that. I'm actually going to destroy that amulet to get the seal. You could save it if you wanted. You could make another seal. I'm just going to melt it. It's fine. Helmet, I need the Prismatic Diamond, so I'm keeping that one. Chest, don't need it. Don't need the component. Goodbye. Pants, same deal, but I'm going to hang on to those because I may need them for the dual-wielding version of this. But otherwise, don't need them. All this is the same. I do need the component off of this, but otherwise that's done, ready to go, and you can go away as well. So, with that said, let's chuck on all of the gear that we're going to be using. So that's our gear. That's what we look like at the end. I kind of wish these were a lightning color rather than the red, but the red whirly devils are kind of cool. All right. Let's get the components back here. Salvage, keep add-on. There we go. That goes on there. This one, keep add-on the helmet. Amulet, keep add-on. Rip Bozo. That was actually a pretty good amulet, but anyway. And I'm going to just chuck that over there. Now, Seal of the Skies on the weapon. Living Armor goes on the shoulders. Sacred Plating goes on the chest. And then the Bloodied Crystals go on the rings. So, unless I'm blind, which it's definitely possible that I am, that's all of my components done. My armor absorption is maxed out. We're good to go on that front. And I know I'm going to want a potent Mammoth's Heart on the weapon. And I know I'm going to want Sky Shard Powder on all of the jewelry. Now, I'm pretty sure, or at least in Grim Tools, it's correct that I want 4 Dreeg's Fiend Blugs and 3 Bismael's Veil Touched for my armor augments. But I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to reset my attributes and my devotion points first. So let's reset those. Now that means I'm naked, can't wear any of my gear, but that's fine. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Conclave of the Three, or you could go to the Coven, but go find yourself a spirit guide, because we need to respec some skills as well, and how many points we put in the bar, because a lot of endgame builds don't just fill both bars. So you may not have the stats you think you have until your skills are in place properly. So I'm going to pause the recording just while I sort out my skills, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, there we go. Now I have finished my my skill points. For anyone who's wondering, they look like this. This is the Demolitionist tree. All of these skills and components and all the rest of that is linked in the first episode of this series if you want to see this particular version. And then let me take these off so you can see the actual skill points here. This is the skill points that I have for Shaman. So let's chuck these back on. And before you spend any of these, we need to do devotions. Now, the devotions for this build are, well, they're fairly easy to do. There's no massive respecking involved. You don't have to take entire clusters and then untake them. We just take green and purple there. We take the spider. Then we come down here. We take empty throne. We take the Rowan's crown, which is going on probably on the Wind Devils. There we go. That gives us access to actually nothing. We want the red and the blue here. Then we take the jackal. We take a whole bunch of blue things. So we've got the Sailor's Guide, we have the hound, and we have the eel. At this point we get Kraken. And we get the widow. The widow always goes always on your main attack. So whatever devotion proc you have to shred your main type of damage resistance always goes on your main attack. Then we come down here and we have the Giant's Blood. You can put this on Blast Shield. Generally you want this on some sort of Circuit Breaker. I'm going to put it on Blast Shield. Actually, there's arguments for and against. I'm just going to put it on Stormcaller's Pact for now. It doesn't really matter. If you have it on a Circuit Breaker, then you get the heal when you actually need it. If you have it on not a Circuit Breaker, then you get the bonus regeneration all the time, or at least much more often, about half the time. So it could go either way. It's up to you. And then we take Ultos here. Now this proc we can put on the Wind Devils or Thermite Mine. One of those. Same with the Elemental Storm. Whichever one of these you're using for Elemental Storm, put Ultos on the other one. I would say Ultos on Thermite and an Elemental Storm on Wind Devil is my preference. It really is a preference thing though, so you do you. The next thing we need to do is we need to come over here and we need to take back all of these in the middle. And then we take the spear, and that's it. That's our devotion's done. Now the reason I do this before I worry about any permanent buff will be fine for this one. And you'll notice this is a level 1 devotion. I could have changed these when I hit level 100, but I didn't, because what we had was a lot more defensive. So you need to have the purple gear in order to not use things like the turtle. You want more defensive devotions when you are fresh 100, and when you're going to the final build, yeah, you might have some level 1 devotions, but you can afford to be less tanky because, at least in theory, you have more defenses from your gear. So that's the rationale there. Now, this is pretty much done, so I'll just give you a quick overlook. Again, all of the devotions are linked in the Grim Tools back in episode number 1 for both this build and for the dual wield one that I'm going to make off screen and you'll probably never see. You might see a build guide for it, but I'm not going to do this whole process again for it. Alright, so we have set up our skills, we have set up our devotions, we have set up all of our gear, minus these resistance augments. Then we just put all of our points into physique until we have enough. Grimtools is telling me 802. I'm just going to check what my item is that has the highest requirements. It's usually going to be a piece of heavy armor. 795 on the boots is the heaviest armor so far, so I need 795 here. So let's just put 795 in here, and be careful when you're doing this as well. Until you get down to your last piece, there's a chance that you will put in, say, 1 point of physique, and then your chest will equip and it has 100 physique, or mean, that's not realistic. It has 50 physique in it. And so now you've spent extra points in physique, and you have two choices at that point. You can either undo and do it again, or you can just go, all right, I guess I'm going to be a little bit not min-maxed. So 795 here. And you want to go 1 point at a time at the end, just so you don't go over. Of course, I'm going to be 1 point short. There we go. All right, so I've got 802, which matches up with Grimtools. At this point, you can look at your offensive ability. If you're below 3,000, maybe you want to put a few points in Cunning just to get some offensive ability. 3.2k offensive ability is plenty. You can get more, but 30% crit chance is plenty high enough. I'm going to put everything left into Spirit. Spirit is going to increase my damage. All magical, or rather all non-physical damage, scales based on your Spirit. And now the question is, yes. The question is, did we actually end up with the full Ultos set? Did we actually end up with more damage than with the Corvin Storm Halberd? And the answer is yes, we did. So we've got about 50% more damage. We are almost certainly going to be squishier. I mean, we can't be crit by basic enemies, but I would be very shocked if I'm not getting crit by Lokar now. And probably a lot of the bosses will be critting us. So that's something you could look at as well. Maybe instead of Blooded Crystals, you want to use something with some more defensive ability. Maybe instead of Sky Shard Powder, you take a hit to your damage and you put some more DA in there. I don't really mind so much here. We have got Infinity +1 regeneration. We've got actually okay armor, okay physical resistance. This build is not going to be a tank, but it's kind of enough. What do we got here? So this is why I put the resistances last. So in Grimtools, I needed 3 Bismail's Veil Touch to get enough Aether resistance to get to 35% over cap. Now I've got 5% over cap, so I actually am going to need that. I've got 84 on Chaos, plus 4 times 10, so that will take me up to 24 over cap, which is not what Grimtool says. Grimtool says it'll be 22 over cap, and my poison should be 30 over cap, but we'll see. So I'm just going to chuck these on, and then we'll have a look at the resistances. Now, as long as everything is capped, that's kind of what you want, but you also want a little bit more than that, if you can get it, and that's a big if. Okay, so for Elemental, you want to have 30% overcap, and I'm not there on my cold, which means somewhere, because Grimtool says 33% overcap on cold, but somewhere there's an issue where Grimtool thinks I have more cold resistance than I do. And it could be one of my pieces here has got a low roll. I'm just checking these for cold res. You know what it is? It's probably one of the prefixes here. That's all right. Everything's capped. And like I said, ideally you want 30% overcapped on all of your elemental. You want 40% overcap on poison and acid. As long as you're at the cap on piercing and bleeding, that's fine. Anything more is kind of wasted. You want 40% overcap on vitality, so we've got that. And you want 30% for Aether, which we have, and 30% for Chaos, which we don't quite have. These, I would say, are acceptable. You might want to use a cold resist potion if you're going to fight something like Musaloki, but generally speaking, this is okay. So all of our stats are done, all of our components are done, all of our skills are done, all of our devotions are done. Let me just double check that everything is bound that needs to be bound. Yes, yes. We got down here, that's done, that's done, that's done. Okay, perfect. So that is the build. It does look quite pretty when you go and bash things with it. So let's go light the screen up to the point where you can't see what's going on anymore. So this is what it looks like when you're playing an Ultos Water with spam Primal Strike. As you can see here, nothing. You can see nothing. But this is going to be a lot of damage. So that's the build at the end there. There will be a build guide, hopefully, coming in the next little while for this build and also for the dual wield build. If you want to have a look at what the dual wielding build looks like, The Grim Tools for that is linked again in the first episode of this series. It will be using the Stormrend and probably the Mythical Stormheart unless I find something better, but I don't think I will. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this little series, so I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you think I've earned it, go ahead and chuck me a like and a subscribe. And that'll be the end. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye for now.